Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of One Take. So, in psychology, there is a term known as the bystander effect. I'm going to jump into that a little today. So, the bystander effect came about after what became a very famous case, a very slightly gruesome, kind of ugly case, but we won't dig too deep into the darkness. We'll be quick about it. That happened back in the early 60s. Background on the case was you had a woman in her late 20s, a bartender, just closed down the bar that she worked at, and she was walking back to her apartment. Her name was Kitty Genovese, and it was in a very tight knit community in the Bronx, and it was only a few blocks that she had to walk. Well, within those few blocks, she was unfortunately attacked by someone who attacked her at three different times and over about a 30-minute period. And at the end of it, she unfortunately was killed right outside her apartment building. Now, dark, I know that we're done with that. Now, the thing that occurred or made it so unique and different was that the community that this happened within. And what investigators found out after the fact were at the time there were upwards of 38 witnesses to this 30 minutes of hell. And now it's been debated over the years whether or not they were actual visual witnesses or they just heard it. But the consensus opinion is that there were a ton of people and most of them heard this. Matter of fact, a lot of the witnesses said they heard it. They thought it was a lover's quarrel or something else going on. And so that's why they didn't do anything. There were some people that called the police, but no true document or numbers with that. But that's almost irrelevant. The thing that's relevant, though, is that you had this tight knit community. You had 30 some odd people, and no one did anything to help her over a 30-minute period. And psychologists wanted to know why. And so they started researching it and they came up with this bystander effect that essentially, if we're in a group and if it's an emergency, in this case, an emergency situation or even a non emergency situation, if we're in a group and the group collectively doesn't do something, we as individuals are far less inclined to do something that is call it anti-group, with the reasoning being that if the group doesn't feel the need to do something, then something really doesn't need to be done and we move on. In the case of Kitty Genovese, theoretically, if that would have happened in front of one or two people, they more than likely would have gotten involved and maybe helped her. But we're not here to debate that. We're here to talk about the bystander effect and how that impacts our real life. So we'll lighten up the scenario here a little bit. I saw a meme recently and I love it because, well, I like YouTube. I'm not like a freak, but the meme it was hilarious. It said, turns out no one actually likes YouTube. They just thought everyone else did. Bystander effect. You have a crowd that doesn't move forward. You try to get people to file through single file, or you're at a red light and nobody moves until one starts budging and the other goes, and it's like everyone's in formation suddenly. Bystander effect. So in business, in the mortgage industry in particular, we are a very tight-knit community. And we tend to lean on each other a lot when it comes to sharing information, sharing best practices, sharing new technology and people that we've spoken with. And that's among people that are at street level are competitors. We're very good at that. But at the same time, it limits us. We become part of that bystander effect because we don't want to jump out in front of other people because no one else is doing it. So if no one else is doing it, then it doesn't need to be done, right? Wrong. One of the things I love about Mortgage 365, when I first went through the interview process, saw the platform, talked to Jason Seedig and the team, was I love the fact it was different. It was approaching the market, the industry, the problems in it differently. It didn't fit in the standard silos that everyone's used to and everyone works within. I love that. And it got me thinking between that and the more I studied this bystander effect, that the only way to create a true differentiation in your market, whether that's as a lender, as a loan officer, as a tech provider, whatever that is, the only way to be a true differentiator, to create true differentiation in your market is to view, attack, and solve the problems, needs, and wants of your market different than your competitor. That's it. It's that simple. That simple. Is the opposite of the bystander effect. Bystander effect says, I'm going to wait to see what everyone else is doing, and I might make it a little bit prettier, might have a better website, might have a different logo, might do a few more videos, whatever the case may be. Still the bystander effect. True differentiation comes from your ability to look at and solve the needs, wants, and problems of your market different than your competitor. That's it. Think about it. Don't be a bystander in your own world. Don't fall or succumb to its effects. Create your differentiation by being different. This has been One Take. Make it a great day.